This is me playing a fully working Subway Surfers in Minecraft, and everything from the power-ups to the coins to even the trains are fully working, and I'm going to show you how I made all of this with no mods in vanilla Minecraft. Be sure to stay till the end of the video because at the end, something devastating happened.
Oh gosh, no!
But we'll get to that later. Now, to make things easier, we're actually going to be separating this project into 3 different parts, so it isn't too overwhelming. Part 1, the building phase, where I have to meticulously build and design the actual subway and obstacles. Part 2, power-ups. I want to get 100% working power-ups into Minecraft, such as the jetpack and even the super sneaker. Part 3, accessories. I want to get fully realistic trains moving like they actually do in Subway Surfers, so no lame minecarts, I'm talking actual trains. Now, because of what we're trying to do, part 3 will be by far the most difficult part, so stay till the end to see how it turns out, because once I'm done with this whole thing, I'm going to do a playthrough of the whole map. I just hope nothing bad happens while I'm doing it. I'm sure I'll be fine. Anyways, enough of me yapping, let's start phase 1 of this project, the building phase. Now, I want this to look as close to the real Subway Surfers as possible, so I did a little research before I started and looked at some photos. After looking at some photos, I realized that the Subway Surfers gets an update like every month or so we're just going to build the first ever version that they made. I loaded up a brand new Minecraft world and began working on the build. I figured sand would be good for the bottom because it sort of resembles the floor of the subway. I extended the subway out more, and after placing down 3 rows of rails, I proceeded to design the walls. Now, in Subway Surfers, the walls expand as they get higher. Now, since this is Minecraft and we only have blocks, I just made the walls extend outward every 2 blocks. I actually really liked the design and decided to stick with it. I extended the subway out some more and thought that would be a good place to stop it. Now, I know what you're thinking. G-Dog, that's not infinite. In the real Subway Surfers, there is no end. And to that I say, trust me. We will make this infinite, but you're gonna have to wait till the end to see how I can make that possible. Why did I have to do this without any mods? I decided I was going to build the surrounding environment. See, in the first version of Subway Surfers, it appears you're in some sort of forest or jungle, and all the trees around you stretch so high you can't even see the top. I decided to build 13 blocks out and away from the subway and make a grass platform on both sides. I used World Edit to place some jungle trees and some grass to make it look like you weren't in the middle of a super flat liminal world of nothingness. I also used World Edit to turn the biome from a regular plains biome to a jungle biome, which made everything a little more saturated, and if you ask me, I think it looks a lot better now. I next decided to build the trains. In Subway Surfers, they have these random trains scattered throughout the map that aren't even moving. I scattered some of the trains throughout the map and gave them each random colors. I also followed the color scheme and pattern you would see on most of them. I can also confidently say that Bliss Shaders makes this build look absolutely incredible. I know it seems like I haven't made that much progress, but this has already taken me 3 hours, and we're not even a quarter way done. Man, I just really hope something bad doesn't happen at the end. I haven't finished the building phase just yet, because I need to add some more decorations along the way, but since I was starting to get bored of just building, I decided to call it a day, and decided the next day we would start with phase 2 of the build, and then come back to phase 1. Day 2, I came back feeling regenerated and ready to begin. Now, today was going to be a little different. Yesterday was by far the easiest part of this project. Now I was moving on to some of the hardest parts of it today. Today, I wanted to add power-ups to my game. You see, in Subway Surfers, you're able to pick up these power-ups that help you in some sort of way throughout your run. Now, unfortunately, Minecraft doesn't have a jetpack or a super sneaker, so that means we're gonna have to make our own. Now, luckily, I have my best friend to do it, Blockbench. I loaded up Blockbench and decided the first power-up I wanted to make was the jetpack. See, in Subway Surfers, you're able to stumble across an item known as a jetpack, and when you pick it up, it lets you fly over everything while shooting out these rainbow particles. Since this was by far the most iconic power-up, I thought it'd be only fair if we started with it. I started moving cubes around to form the shape and model of the jetpack. I had a reference picture open in another tab, so that's why you see me switching back and forth. I continued moving cubes until I was actually really happy with the design. Now all I had to do was add a texture to it. Now, while I make my texture, I know y'all are probably asking me, G-Dog, you said you would do this with no mods, and you're clearly adding something to the game. That's cheating. Well, to that I say, that's not actually true. You see, yes, I am designing a custom model and texture, but I'm not actually adding something. I'm replacing something. To actually add your own custom items and blocks to Minecraft, you need a mod to do that. but to replace current models and items, you actually can do that inside vanilla Minecraft. If you're still confused about what I'm doing, I'm just replacing the current diamond chestplate texture and model with my own design. This will allow me to add my own texture and model to the game without using any unnecessary mods. Now that I was almost done texturing the item, there was still one thing left to do. I want to make it so when you hold this item, it appears on the right area. Well, if I hold this item, it doesn't really look like anything. But by using Blockbench's custom placement and rotation configuration, I was able to rotate and move the jetpack so it made it look like you were actually wearing it. The design surprisingly actually only took about over 35 minutes, but I'm actually really proud. Now it was time to get into Minecraft. But this is when I would run into my first major problem. I started off by making a custom resource pack called Power-Ups. I made the necessary folders and first dropped my model.json into the models folder and then my texture into the textures folder. Now all there was to do was load up Minecraft and test out the resource pack. I opened up my resource pack folder and prayed that it would correctly load. I turned on the resource pack, went into the creative menu, and searched for a diamond chestplate, but found this.
Please work.
As funny as this might seem, this was actually a major problem. You see, this was a step in the right direction, but also a major failure. The model and position of this item was actually perfect, but you might notice how the colors are only black and purple. This means the texture I had spent forever making had failed. I went back into the folders, trying to find the issue. I reloaded this pack over 10 times, but nothing. Something was wrong, and I began to doubt if this project was even worth it. But then I realized something. You see, my model was a .json file, meaning it had a lot of text and code. Now, if you're like me, you have absolutely no clue on how to code. Like, bruh, I could not tell you what this meant if my life depended on it. But while scrolling through it, I actually noticed something. The first area of the file had an area called textures and block, and it was then I realized that was my problem. Right here, you see how this says block? Well, last time I checked, the diamond chestplate isn't a block. It's an item. So I replaced these two areas that said block with item and made sure the textures area was tied to my texture I uploaded. If you don't understand anything I did in the past minute and a half, I wouldn't blame you whatsoever. Like, this took me hours upon hours to understand, but in simple terms, the game basically thought my diamond chestplate was a block and didn't know what texture to have, so it was just black and purple. But by replacing the word block with item, it was able to detect it was an item, and therefore, it should end up working. I got ready to load up my texture pack and prayed that it will work this time. I had spent so long designing and making this power up. If this didn't work, then, well, I don't think I'll be able to finish this project.
Alright, I got the diamond chestplate right here. I think I fixed the texture. Hopefully it works. Please? Yes! Oh my gosh, yes! Oh, that's so cool. I love that. It turned out so great.
It worked! After all of my hard work, my texture and model worked and was officially loaded into the game. Now, most people might have stopped there, but remember, we are making this as close to Subway Surfers as possible, so we're going to make this 100% work. Now, see, there was a little problem with this. Since the diamond chestplate item and the diamond chestplate that you actually see while you're wearing are two different things, the texture doesn't appear on the chestplate when I wear it. So we'll just have to deal with holding it. Now, I first wanted to start off by integrating the flying feature into the jetpack. This was actually surprisingly simple. I just added the command block that gives the player levitation when you hold it. I also made it so you can only hold this item for 15 seconds before it gets removed from your inventory like it does in real Subway Surfers. I then decided that I wanted to code the rainbow particles, which, again, was actually surprisingly easy. I set up a series of 6 command blocks, each correlating to their own colors. One for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and of course purple. I made it so whenever you hold out the jetpack, it spawns a series of dust particles behind you, each correlating to their own color. So when I hold out my item, not only does it make you fly, but it also shoots out every single particle it would from the real Subway Surfers game, meaning that we're one step closer to finishing this project. Now that I thought I had finished what would be the hardest part of this project, I decided that was a good stopping point for today, and I logged off of Minecraft, not knowing the hardest part was yet to come. I loaded up Minecraft on day 3 and decided today I was going to make yet another power-up. Today I decided I wanted to make the ×2 power-up. In Subway Surfers, you're able to get a power-up known as the ×2. It's pretty self-explanatory, but what it does is basically just doubles the amount your score gets for 30 seconds. Now, once again, since Minecraft doesn't have an item called the ×2 power-up, we're gonna have to make our own again. I loaded up Blockbench again and began modeling and designing the power-up. Now, while designing this power-up, I should let you know that I made a custom scoring system. It's not much, but basically by running the scoreboard command, I made it so it tracks how long you've survived on the side of your screen. This is supposed to act like your score in Subway Surfers. While adding the scoreboard was simple though, the same cannot be said about my model for the ×2 power-up. For some reason, I could not form the shape of the star for the life of me, and I ended up adding the texture way too early in the process, which made texturing the item way harder. I had finished it, but it was clear to me that this model and texture was not going to work. I decided to scrap the model and restart. That model alone had taken me over 30 minutes, which might not seem like a lot, but let me tell you, when you're doing nothing but 3D modeling, 30 minutes feels like a lot longer than they should. I started moving cubes in hopes to achieve what I pictured in my head. The shape at the bottom of the star started off much better, but as I got to the top, the same thing happened again. For some reason, I just could not form the star shape, and I once again added my texture too early. I wanted to stop here and just add it to the game, but I knew it wasn't good enough. I cannot express to you how hard it was to delete this model for a second time and start over. It's already been over an hour and I've made no progress today. It was clear that I just wasn't going to be able to form the correct shape of this power-up. So I did what I had to do. I know this will disappoint a lot of y'all, but trust me, I wasn't getting anywhere with the original model. I designed the ×2 power-up and this is how it looked. I know it looks absolutely horrible, but I just could not put that original model into the game. I opened up Minecraft, put the power-up into the correct folders, and loaded up my texture pack. This time I knew what to look out for, and I was actually able to fix the .json by once again changing the word block to item, since I had retextured diamond boots for this. I loaded up my resource pack, and it ended up actually working. I then made some command blocks so when you hold this power up, it makes your score go up a lot faster. I also ended up finishing the building phase of this project by completing the subway and scattering some more trains throughout it, which meant I could officially mark off phase 1 of this project. But we still have 2 more things I want to add to the power up texture pack before we can cross off phase 2. Now, the next thing that I'm going to add, I won't be spending a lot of time explaining. I wanted to add coins to the game. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what coins are from Subway Surfers, but if you don't know, it's just gold circles that you can pick up during your run to buy exclusive cosmetics. The design only took about 40 minutes, but I was actually really happy to see how it turned out. After loading up my resource pack, I looked into the creative menu for an emerald since that's what I ended up remodeling to be a coin. And luckily, it actually worked. I actually really like the way the design came out. I know it isn't perfect, but it's also not the worst. I added some command blocks to show a scoreboard that shows how many coins you picked up during the run. Now, unfortunately, we can only display one scoreboard at a time. I decided to display the scoreboard on your side and display how many coins you picked up above your inventory. Now with the coin done, there was only one power-up left to add, and that was the Super Sneaker. Basically, the Super Sneakers are just something that let you jump a little higher than usual, but I'll still be adding them to my version because they're really classic and they're an iconic part of Subway Surfers. I loaded up Blockbench for one final time and began designing. I used a reference picture in another tab, and after designing the boots to look how I wanted, I decided it was time to texture them. I realized while looking at a reference picture that the boots have these green arrows pointing upwards on the front and side of the power-up. I just thought that was a really cool detail. This honestly was probably the most simple power-up I had made, and surprisingly it only took about 25 minutes from modeling to texturing. I positioned it so it would appear at the player's feet, and then loaded up Minecraft. I went through the usual steps of adding it into the game, and loaded up my texture pack, and thank goodness it actually worked. Now, I want to remind you something. We're making this as close to the real Subway Surfers as possible, so that means we're gonna have to make this thing work. Again, this was actually surprisingly simple since all I had to do was add some command blocks that give the player jump boost if they held this item. I was actually really happy to see how this power-up turned out. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourselves, what about the magnet? Well, there are 2 problems with adding the magnet from Subway Surfers into this game. The first is coins. Right now, on the version I made this in for Minecraft Java, there isn't a way to make things randomly spawn at different places, meaning the coins wouldn't really be spawning, making this power-up essentially pointless. And problem number 2 is that I literally have no idea how I would make it so when you walk near coins they get picked up. Not to mention I would have to make a custom animation to show the coins being pulled towards the magnet, which requires a mod, so I can't really do that. So unfortunately, I'm sorry to my magnet lovers out there, but I can't make this power-up work. But maybe in the future, I'll make this power-up get into the game. But anyways, after 2 full days of modeling, texturing, and designing, I finally had added all the power-ups I wanted to my Subway Surfers, meaning I could finally cross off phase 2 of this project. And with that done, this means we only have 1 phase left of this project. I thought for sure the worst was out of the way for this project. I had ran into so many problems and so many different issues, but I had always found a way around them. But little did I know, things were truly about to take a turn for the worse. Finally, we've made it to the final phase of this project. I want to add 2 things, moving trains and a cop. Now, the cop's going to be easy. All we really need is something that can kill you easily. I started off with the first logical choice, an iron golem. Seems perfect, right? They're big, fast, and basically one-shot you. Well, unfortunately, iron golems need to be hit before they can attack you, and I don't want players to have the option to not be chased. So, I have to resort to option B, a silverfish. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if we spawn a silverfish with regeneration 255, speed 3, and make it so when you touch it, you end up dying, well, then we got ourselves a pretty good reason to run away, if you ask me. I know the silverfish is kinda lame, and isn't that intimidating, but I plan to one day update this so it's a more advanced entity. I might even end up adding my own custom entity in the future, but right now, let's just stick with this. Now for the hardest part of this whole project, the trains. In Subway Surfers, you get to see many trains passing by you, and if they hit you, your run's over. Now the solution most of y'all might think is simple, just retexture and remodel a regular minecart. That actually isn't a bad idea, and I myself actually tried this at first, but then realized something. Just like armor when you wear it, the minecart when it moves is an entity. When you hold it in your hotbar, that's an item. You can just retexture that. But when the minecart's actually moving, that's an entity. Now, texturing isn't impossible since Minecraft actually allows you to retexture entities, but I'm not able to remodel the entity whatsoever because entity models are hard-coded into Minecraft and can't be changed without a mod. I know that you're probably thinking, G-Dog, just retexture the minecart and leave it as is. Well, to that I say, you tell me, which looks more intimidating? Yeah, so that's our problem. I spent forever trying to figure out a solution, but couldn't. It seemed like every thought I had was pointless and wouldn't fix the situation. But it was then I remembered something and realized the fix was actually simple for this. I knew exactly what to do, but first, I needed to model and texture the trains. I opened up Blockbench for the last time and began texturing a Subway Surfers train. I know I haven't explained what my plan is for now and how I'm gonna pull it off, but just trust me, it'll make more sense once we have our model and texture in the game. I kept moving blocks until I was happy with the way the model looked. I then decided to texture it. I decided I would make it yellow because most of the trains in Subway Surfers seem to be that color. I also painted on designs and patterns most of the trains would have, and I even added a window and a door to the front and back, and added some lights to it. I finally positioned the model to where I wanted it to be when you hold it, and with that, my train model and texture was complete. It may not have seemed like a lot, but this was by far the hardest design and model I had made yet, and it took me over 45 minutes to finish. Now that I have my model and texture finished, I think it's time I tell you my plan for this. I can't texture moving minecarts because if I did, well, it would look like this. But I can texture other blocks and items. Now, why would I want to do that, and what do other blocks and items have to do with a minecart, you ask? Well, there's actually a really cool command called block displays. It basically can make other blocks appear out of thin air, but make it so they aren't really there. They're essentially just a texture and model of a block, but not the block itself. Again though, what does that have to do with minecarts exactly? Well, it turns out there's actually a command that makes block displays ride minecarts. Essentially, by using the /ride command, you can make block displays move on top of minecarts, and therefore it actually looks like the block itself is moving. See where I'm going with this? Well, if I apply my texture to a random block, then use the block displays and ride command, we can make our texture and model look like it's actually moving. We can actually really see this effect when we change the texture of a regular minecart to be transparent. Now it really looks like the block is moving by itself. Now all we have to do is pick a block for our model and texture to take over. And I actually picked a block that everyone— Azalea! I was on a tight schedule, and I panicked, and the Azalea came to my mind first, so that's what we're going with. I applied my texture and model to the Azalea block, then summoned it with a block displays command. Then by using the ride command, it was now mounted on the top of the invisible minecart. Now all I had to do was test it. I pushed the minecart forward, and this is how it turned out. It looked so awesome. It looked like an actual train was moving down the subway tracks. I know it isn't perfectly aligned with the Rails, and there's still a few issues with it, but other than that, I called out a huge win. I'm not gonna bore you with the next 3.5 hours of me just typing in commands, but I made it so 4 different trains spawn at 4 different points in the subway. I also added the command that kills you if the player touches an azalea or its block display. Then finally, I added the command at the end of the subway that teleports you back to the beginning of it if you get that far, but it keeps your score going up. I know it isn't exactly infinite, but it's the closest I could get to it. I got ready to shut down Minecraft for today and got ready for testing day, but that's when it happened.
Wait, what? Yo, where is my resource pack? Where is my resource pack? Where's my resource pack?
My resource pack was no longer in Minecraft. I searched throughout all sorts of folders, but no matter where I looked, it wasn't there. This was a massive problem, but it only got worse as I started to remember something. The other day, when I had cleared out some of my files, my resource pack had somehow accidentally got put into the trash and permanently deleted. This means that everything I had done since phase 2 of this project was now all gone. All my power-ups, all my textures, and all my models, and even, yes, the trains were all gone. Everything I had done was for nothing, and it was then I realized that this project would be impossible to complete. If it weren't for one thing. One thought crossed my mind that hadn't originally. I quickly opened up my Google Drive and went to the recent area, and there it was. Lo and behold, my resource pack and all the power-ups were safely stored away. After I had finished the train model, I had made a copy of the resource pack and put it into my Google Drive in case something like this happened. And apparently it's a good thing I did, because if I hadn't, well, I don't know what I would have done. I just want to give a quick reminder to all my Minecrafters out there, and any game at that. If you have made a lot of progress on something, make a copy and save it to a Google Drive. It only takes about 5 minutes and it's completely worth it. With my mini heart attack now out of the way, I turned off Minecraft, relieved and ready for the final day of this project, where I would test everything to see if it had worked. But there was one more problem. You see, I had made so many changes throughout this whole project in so many different commands, meaning there was a likely chance that this final product wouldn't even work. I hoped and prayed that all my work wasn't for nothing, and got ready to finish this project. I loaded up Minecraft and got ready. The night before I logged off, I had built a small lobby/hub area for people to spawn into. Everything I had done had led up to this moment. All the building, all the designing, and all the modeling was all about to either pay off or be for nothing. There was a very high chance that none of the power-ups worked, and all of this was for nothing. But the only way to find out was to try it. Everything's either about to all pay off, or have been for nothing.
There is something calling you. Everything has changed. Running down a dangerous path, you begin to change. It feels like you'll see building blocks of dreams. You can
Yes!
Oh man, was that a video or something? Yeah, anyways, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, where can you download and get this map at? So I'm gonna leave a download link in my Ko-Fi. Do know you have to download the map and the resource pack. I'm also gonna let you know there's like a 50% chance nothing even works. Okay, I'm still bug fixing and testing things out, and again, like I said, I plan to update this, but also we're monetizing in the YouTube Partner Program, baby, so you can become a channel member and get your name at the end of every single video. Let's try to get to 4,000 watch hours by July. That means we're in level 2 of the YouTube Partner Program, and it means I can start making money from ad revenue. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and have a great summer.